coming on to the back part of Henry Poole, just in the cut room here, we have obviously, Eddie, we have your suit at first stage.
Here it is.
Yeah. In fact, here is your pattern. So this is the joy, is that your pattern is here. This is now a piece of history that sits in our vaults, and in here is your body shape.
Well, I guess do the honors. This is exciting. I mean, to see it come together.
This really is my very first fitting, so.
I mean, the suit hardly needs any additional work. It looks perfect. Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and today we are back once more with Eddie Sahakian as he continues on his exciting journey, experiencing the magic of having his very first pure bespoke suit made from Savile Row tailoring firm Henry Poole. In our last video, we saw Eddie meet with Simon Cundy for the first fitting. The fittings are, of course, crucial to the whole bespoke process, one of the most important elements that will bestow upon the final garment its absolute integrity. Now that Eddie's cutter, Tom, has had time to integrate the adjustments from that first fitting into the garment, it is now time for the second fitting. So join me as we step back inside Henry Poole with Eddie Sahakian.
Thank you very much, Kirby.
Here we are.
I can't believe it.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, so
How exciting.
Here we are.
I can't believe it.
well, we've progressed a little since your last visit, of course. We had a good start, actually, so we didn't need to do anything intermediary. It's good to go to this sort of stage. We've got the collar in position now. We've got the lapels on, all the linings inside, and all the pockets and sleeves are fixed as well.
It's beautiful, that colour.
That's
Just gorgeous.
Choice of lining. I mean, it's, I think, a real fitting lining given the fact that it's both the Davidoff and the Henry Poole green.
Yes, you're right. We didn't think of that.
So what I'm looking for at this stage is obviously for cleanliness in the make, making sure that there's not excess fullness anywhere, any folds or ripples or excess fabric, making sure also that nothing's too tight, so that when you come in, I'm not dealing with things that I could have rectified that aren't a fitting issue. And at this stage, we've got the gorge of the lapel in a good position, proportionate to your frame and your body, a lot of these dimensions. The lapel width is now fixed. We look at the balance on your body later, but at this stage, we're nearly there. We can make adjustments further to what we're seeing now. We can let it in, out, play around with the sleeve lengths, and tweak as necessary.
Yes.
And after this, we would finish it. We'd sew the buttonholes, hand stitch all the linings in, open it around the pockets. And the vest as well, we have the pockets in. We'll have another look at that before we put the lapel on to mirror the jacket. But that's a slightly less intricate process, seeing as there are no sleeves and no collar. So I'm fairly confident that it's going to look good on you. If it tends to look good on a hanger or a mannequin, it generally is going to look fairly respectable on the gentleman.
Okay.
Barring any figuration adjustments that I might need to make.
You're a consummate diplomat, Tom.
We took a little bit of size in last time, so we nipped it in through your body. We assessed the front edge last time, so on you, that should now wrap nicely and button closed without pulling or being too floaty. I'd like it to drape, of course. Would you like to see the back of the coat?
I would love to see that.
We'll turn around our friend here.
Wow.
So clean.
It's clean on the mannequin.
Yes.
I'd like to hope that it's going to be clean on you. Sometimes the mannequin doesn't reflect the stance or the posture of some gentlemen, but this looks pretty much like it's going to work well on you.
I'll spend a few hours in the gym. I'm sure I'll match it eventually.
He's a good guide.
Yeah,
this
that's
chap.
right, yeah.
The collar is settled really nicely on the neck there. It's not pulling tight. We've got fullness in the shoulder here, which allows for the muscles to expand and for your arms to come forward. And then we like a little bit of drape in the back there, so that if you want to move your arm forward, you can use up that excess fabric.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Without it being too floaty.
Is there, internally, is there any padding at the shoulder level or underneath?
It's largely determined by the figure of the gentleman.
Yes.
We like to keep it in the medium sort of level. We don't like to overpad here, but we like a little bit of structure to the shoulder.
Got it.
So we're classic West End tailoring here. We don't do anything to an extreme as a house sort of style. We largely fit it to you. What we do like to see is the fullness in the shoulder for movement, the drape for movement. It's got to be comfortable first and foremost. We like to keep it looking like a West End tailored suit. So we like a bit of structure in the sleeve head, a bit of a roped sleeve head here.
So that would be the sort of slightly prominent level there,
Yes, which some gentlemen don't like as much as others, but it's good to have a little bit of a signature there for Savile Row tailors.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful rope to the shoulder.
It defines the end of the garment. I think it gives it a bit more strength.
And a little bit more silhouette too, right?
Yes.
It's a kind of a mark right there.
And did you call this a vented back? Is that right? What
Yes.
is,
These are
please
side
remind
vents.
me what we call that's side vents. Okay.
Yeah, and they
Double.
or double
double
vents,
vent.
exactly, yes. And they allow for the silhouette to flow over the hip nicely. Traditionally on dinner suits, perhaps there wouldn't be vents. Some prefer a single vent in the centre, which we'd often put in an overcoat, of course, and that has evolved from the style where they needed to have that splaying over the back of a horse, which I dare say you don't travel to work on horseback
Well,
anymore.
not often, but you never know.
So I prefer a double vented jacket because I have the unseemly habit of using my trouser pockets, and occasionally it allows for ease of access.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's more comfortable when you're sitting in a jacket, not that I like to too often.
What about the pockets? Have the interior pockets of the lining been done yet?
They have. I'll show you.
Because we had some special features built into those, didn't we?
They have. We still need to cut around them, but you
Okay.
can just see the edge of the in-breast pocket on the left there, and then there's a pen pocket below that.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a facing pocket lower down.
Okay.
So you can use those to your heart's content, and then
Yeah.
same the other side, an upper and a lower.
We've got the cigar pocket.
Cigars can be
for the
concealed.
Davidoff number 2s.
Cutters can be placed. Phone can be accommodated.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And look at the roll, Eddie, just on this lapel. I mean, this is the handwork right there really showing through. And what's incredible, and Tom, you can of course talk more about this than I can, but this is created by hundreds of small stitches, basically sewing the canvas, to the fabric. And so, part of the durability of a pure bespoke garment from a house like Henry Poole is that durability built into it. I mean, the shape of this garment is literally sewn into it. So, it has a durability and a longevity to it. I mean, you don't have to, be precious with it, right? I mean, it can be a garment that, is lived and worked in and still look great. Like, that's one of the things
I
you
can do my disco moves.
Yes,
with
well,
Well, we like to make them to be worn, and I like to see them being used, not being kept as a museum piece.
Yeah.
And you can see the subtle dimpling under the lapel there. That is the stitching that we use to hold the canvas to the
So it's called the pad stitching, and it's
That's right.
hundreds of stitches, and it's done by the coat maker over their leg, and they're rolling the shape into the lapel while they're sewing those each stitch.
So you can see the subtle curve. It's inclined to curl that particular way, which helps it to lock on the chest. But we don't like to press that flat here.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, an industrial dry cleaner will put it on a huge suction board and press it flat.
Press the life out of it.
Exactly. So we like to let that just roll over the front.
Well, that's a very good point. When hopefully it's all done, I will need to get your expert advice on how to maintain and look after the suit, of course.
Yeah.
The things to avoid and things to do.
Well, one of the benefits of Poole, of course, of being at such a renowned bespoke tailoring house is the fact that, the firm is really committed to servicing this garment through its lifetime, right? So if it needs to be let out or taken in, or if you need to bring it back for pressing, they're always more than happy to do that.
You will have seen at the last stage the extra fabric on the interior.
Yes.
Before the linings went in. All that is still there. Now, I'm not using that to incentivize you to grow, but it's there if you should need it in the future.
Eddie just turned 50, so he's past that phase. I just turned 40, so I'm entering that phase.
Don't view it as a challenge.
You have nothing to worry about, Kirby, trust me.
That's why I prefer to smoke my dinners. It's a low-calorie diet.
It helps our weight regime.
Yes,
correct?
that's right, yeah.
Likewise, if you ever wanted it serviced or pressed, perhaps, then we'd be able to do that for you as well.
And pressing is sort of returning it to this original shape. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's the ironing. I mean, instead of like a industrial dry cleaners where, it's done with a big, single thing. I mean, pressing is actually, again, one of the many skills of bespoke tailor is, actually using an iron to press the shape into the garment. And it's a skill, right?
It's a craft in itself, Kirby, yes. And it's often done during the making process. Everything is pressed very carefully. That's called under pressing. Right. So at each stage, everything is kept very well pressed. Yes. And then the final pressing of the garment, which we've done after we've adjusted this and done the hand sewing, that's an art as well. Yes. And that's what sometimes needs a bit of a refresh after some time. But the structure that we build into it largely holds its shape for a while.
Well, it's so impressive. I suspect if my wife sees photos of the mannequin, she may swap me in headless, so I don't talk too much.
No, it's beautiful. It's exciting to kind of see it at this stage. And again, right here, I mean, this is one of the kind of telltale signs of a bespoke garment. Is that stitching that you can see underneath the lapel. And will you guys do a pick stitching along the edge whenever you're done with this as well?
Exactly, yes.
What is that?
It's the hand stitching on the edge of the lapels, which holds all those layers together. It stops it folding over, rolling on itself. And it also catches the underneath of the garment as well. Yes. So it's a structural stitch. It can be defined. You'll see on some suits they make a feature of it. Mm-hmm. We like to keep ours subtle, discreet. Yeah. Sometimes on a tweed coat you can have that inset and have it what we call a swelled distance. From
I think I know what you mean. Like in some car seats have the exaggerated stitches in a different colour.
Well, yours looks inset right here.
Well spotted, it is. Yeah.
And so you can kind of see it, again, it's one of those subtle details where, it's almost imperceptible to everything but the well-trained eye that really knows to look for it. But it's one of those hallmarks of distinction. And again, it's not handwork for the sake of handwork, but it actually lends an additional element of integrity to the garment to ensure that it just always looks perfect.
It's a structural stitch.
Yes.
It's often mimicked in ready-to-wear clothing and accentuated as a gimmicky feature, I would say, with the greatest of respect. But it's a structural thing, and some people like it more pronounced, and we can do that. Yeah. But if it's too pronounced, it can look like the stitching is tight, and it can pucker a little. And we like to keep it discreet and loose. Yeah. It's about the cut and the fit at Henry Poole, not so much the finishing details. Yes. If you want a pink lapel hole, of course you can. But it would detract,
would Simon allow
I think.
That?
Yeah. We do. We cater for
have to have the managing director sign off on that request.
We cater for individuals' preferences, of course, but we do to try and steer gentlemen into discretion more than flamboyance.
Well, unlike with some of the Italian houses, you only get that feature by request.
Understood.
Well, I mean, this is exciting, I guess, Eddie, I guess this is, an exciting moment to actually try it on.
I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe we're here and I'm standing next to what will become my first suit.
Yeah, well, the next stage is to see it on you. It looks nice on the mannequin, but that's no guarantee about your fitting. So let's see it on you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Into the fitting room. Amazing.
Okay, so we're fine on the trousers, Eddie. Let's slip the vest on.
Wonderful. This is some sort of alchemy, turning lead to gold, right?
A couple of things I'll mention to you for when you're wearing. We've got the braces supporting the trousers in the right position at the moment.
Yes.
Good guide for that height is that I like to see that last functional button pretty much in the seam of the waistband there.
Got it.
It just guarantees that you're not going to be flashing shirt if you sit down and the vest rides up.
Yes.
And it will indicate that you've got the braces in the correct position. Because sometimes that can be a bit of an ambiguous decision if you are switching braces between trousers.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It's closing naturally where I want to see it, Eddie, so it shows me that you've maintained a consistent shape over the chest since I last saw you.
Despite the buns that are home buns.
They're like eating air, though. There's nothing in there. Fine.
That's what I keep telling myself.
So I'm just pinning this where it will wrap naturally if it was buttoned, and then I'll go around there behind you and just check the structure. So again, the shoulders are sitting really cleanly. It's good over the chest. It's floating on the hips without gripping you. And I can see that as we open the vent on the waistcoat, we're still not flashing any shirt. It's well covering that waistband. And then the front of the vest is covering the waistband as well. So that's good.
And I can see the shoulder width as well looks really nice there.
Well, that's a finished width now. We've trimmed away the excess. The lining, of course, will come away when we finish the back. But it's sitting really nicely over your chest where you're strongest. What I do need to check is whether you're comfortable breathing. I know that you've got braces in there, but you take a deep breath. Do you feel restricted?
Not at all.
You feel okay?
It feels very comfortable.
That's okay, because I can feel you under there, and sometimes if you're wandering around and up and down stairs and eating, occasionally a bit of extra room in the vest there helps.
Yes, I'll try and minimise any physical effort when I'm wearing this suit.
Very wise, sir, very wise. So that is good to finish now, and when I see you next, that will be completely done with the lapels on and all the buttons functioning. There'll be a cosmetic one there. But the pockets are in at this stage, so the back's looking very clean. Lovely over the shoulders, and it's on the body without being too close.
Yes.
So I'm happy with that. Let's slip the jacket on.
Wonderful.
Arms back into the coat, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, I love that lining. Every time it winks at me, I get excited.
So when I've put a coat on, I can just get the shirt sleeves where they want to be.
Please forgive my watch, it might be blocking them a little bit.
That's quite all right. They're good shirt cuffs. That's fine for the purposes of today. Good, so I'll run you through what I'm looking for at this stage on the coat. First of all, I check whether it's positioned centrally on your neck, which it is. And I start around the back and I check that that's gripping your collar well. It's really locked on your neck, which I'm very happy about. Nothing tight through the back shoulder. The angle and the width is good. We've got that sleeve head looking very sharp, very crisp. And then it's sitting cleanly over your chest without pulling anywhere. and I just pop a pin in where I'd like to see it buttoned when it's finished. And it seems to be wrapping just where I'd like it to if it had the button in. And that's hanging straight as well. So now I've pinned that in, I'll come around the front and just check it on the chest. Yes, there's nothing tight there. It's nicely locked on your chest. There's no evidence of it popping off here, which is good. It's clean through the body. The silhouette's elegant. I look at the pitch of the sleeve and I mark that. Occasionally, if a gentleman stands slightly more erect, it brings the arms back. We'd have to take the sleeve out, rotate it, put it back in. If your arms were forward, then we'd see a little bit of a crease here. We'd have to take that sleeve out, rotate it, and put it back in. In this case, at our last fitting, we ascertained where the pitch of your sleeve should be. We've put it in there, and as you can see, it looks incredibly clean. So I'm very happy with that. We don't need to pay attention there. We'll have a look at the sleeve lengths in a minute, but on the whole, structurally, I'm very content. The silhouette's elegant without being too waspish, and it's proportionately, the lengths are good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's draping nicely through the back. It's giving you the room that you need to move without looking too floaty. So I'll just ask you if you want to just move your arms around, see how comfortable you do feel.
It feels like it has just the right amount of give for me. I mean, I'm not often doing much of this in a suit, so I'll be reaching up for some cigars perhaps, and even that feels very good.
Raising a glass to the mouth is the most important movement.
And a cigar, of course.
That's right.
One cigar, one whiskey. I think it feels lovely.
So if you're comfortable with the basic motions, then I'm pleased with that. Yes, as I said, I've pinned it where it would be buttoned.
Yes.
You won't always have it buttoned, but I need to check that it will be okay when it's buttoned. I can release the pin there and then it will just hang away elegantly, and you'll see some buttons on the waistcoat, which is nice. The roll of the lapel is coming in to the right position, so it indicates that nothing's tight here. We've got some nice drape in the front of the chest, which allows you to have interior pockets that can be used without bulging. So that's working well. And the silhouette, I think, is in the correct position. Occasionally, gentlemen who might be more portly, we need to make that waistline artificially higher on them so that you still get the illusion of shape, but it covers where they are largest. I think we've got the shape in the right place for you. I think it's elegant. I think my perspective in the fitting room is sometimes a little off because I'm standing so close to you. We're looking down into a mirror. Everything's very out of natural perspective. So I sometimes take a little step back and have a look from a distance. And I don't have any cause for concern. I see a little ripple in the sleeve here, so I might just check that nothing's tight in there. It could be that the lining of the sleeve is a little tight there. But at this stage, everything is still newly made. It needs to have some final pressing, some finishing work, but we'll give it some quality control before we have a last look. And then the sleeve lengths, Eddie, I think they're perhaps a slither on the long side. So what I'll ask you to do is just take a small step back, and we like to see a little bit of the shirt cuff. I think on the right sleeve it looks nice. We're seeing a bit of the shirt. I think we could be a little bit short on the left sleeve. Occasionally a watch will hold the shirt up so it can distort our perspective.
Yes.
In this case, I might just measure to the end of your thumb, both sides, and see whether that distance is even, which it is not. So I would propose that we shorten this left sleeve.
Right. I will be led by your advice.
Well, that's gratifying. So I think we shorten that one to marry up with the other side. But on the whole, I'm very happy with that. The balance of the coat is really good. The silhouette is elegant. Everything proportionately seems about in the right place without being tight. Yeah, happy with that. So We'll shorten this sleeve. I'll have a little look at the lining in the front of that right one there. So again, another look at the back of the coat. I'm very happy with the way this is draping. You've got enough room to move your arms forward without it being too floaty.
Yes.
So when you do move forward, it pulls that excess fabric around. When you relax, it settles down into a nice clean folded drape at the back of the shoulder there. You need to leave that there so that you've got room to move. And then likewise in the sleeve, you need a little bit of room in the sleeve so that your arms can move forward. But then when you settle down again, it hangs nice and cleanly there, which indicates the pitch of the sleeve is nice. That's the same on both sides. So that's agreeable. The balance of the coat is very good. We don't need to pay any attention to that at this stage. But a lot of those basics were ironed out when I saw you for that initial fitting.
Yes.
We're really fine-tuning it now at this stage, and there's not too much to do, so I'm very happy. So at this stage, Eddie, do you have any comments or questions further to what we've discussed?
Tom, nothing except my constant admiration and awe for what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Eddie. I'll pass that on to the workshop.
Please. Thank you.
Okay, let's take this off, get it finished.
Oh, Eddie, what a pleasure. I mean, what did you think? I mean, at this stage of the second fitting, you know, you can really begin to see the suit come together in its full glory. And I think we saw that today.
I was so impressed. I'm pinching myself,
Yeah.
I'm floating on clouds, all the metaphors are there.
Yeah.
It's a magical experience. I cannot tell you what it was like to see myself transformed in a suit like that. You know, I couldn't recognize my physical self. It was an improvement, the cheapest
well, that's
cosmetic
right.
surgery around, right?
Well, it's amazing what a nice suit will do. And of course, a Henry Poole here on Savile Row, you know, the first bespoke Savile Row tailor of the row, you know, doing work at the absolute highest level. And to just see their craft come together, and of course, through the multiple fitting process, which really allows one to kind of relish the experience, is just incredible. I'm enjoying it as much as just a you know, bystander, if not more than I do, you know, whenever I went through it my first time. So we must celebrate.
Please, may I tempt you with a cigar?
I can't think of a more perfect way.
Let's do it.
Thank you. What a treat.
Oh, Kirby. Life cannot get any better.
So
Each and every time.
we've got to do shirts next.
Oh.
And then we've got to go find that Rolls Royce we were talking about last night.
Yes, I'm all for that.